So our first example was about hen's eggs, and all of our data was between 0 and 5. And so it was easy to just make a list of the number of eggs that the hens laid. However, when the data is much more spread apart, we want to instead have what we call a lower class limit and an upper class limit and classify things in this class, and then we'll put the frequency of things that fall between those values. All right, so here's an example where we have a class of 20 scores on a math test, and all of those scores are listed there. And notice they range from as low as 42 to as high as 99. And so those are a lot more distributed in their values. We wouldn't want to list all the way from 42 to 99 and then put the frequency of each score. Instead, we want to come up with classes for them. Now, in your homework, you're going to be given the lower class limit and then the upper class limit for the highest class. And you have got to figure out what to put into these boxes. So let's look at how we can do that. All right, so what we're going to do in order to fill this in is we're going to take the upper class limit of 105 and subtract the lowest class limit of 40, and we get 65. And notice if we count the number of classes that are in this table, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different classes here. So I'm going to take 65 and divide it by 6. I don't really care about the decimal, but I know that 6 will go into 65 at least 10 times. It won't go 11, not quite. So I'm going to make my classes 10 in size. So if I take this 40 right here and I add 10 to it, that's going to give me 50. And I never want the classes to overlap. So my next class will start one higher than 50. It'll start at 51. And if I add 10 to 51, my upper class limit will be 61. And again, I can't start at the same place. I have to start a little bit further. So one further from it. So I start at 62, add 10 to that. This class stops at 72. So I'll go one more to get the lower limit of the next class. 72, add 10 to it, and get 83. And then one more than the last class gives me 84. Add 10 to it is now 94. And then one more than this, I have 95. And of course, if I added 10 to it, it would go to 105. So now that I've made these classes, I'm going to go through and I'm going to see which scores fall within these lower and upper limits, and that will determine my frequency for that class. Now, it helps if you take this data and put it in order, and then you won't miss one. So if I put this data into order, I will have the scores 42, 44, 53, 64, 65, 69 twice, 72, 75, 78, 78 twice, 82, 85 3 times, 88, 89, 91, 93, and 99. And that's just putting all of these numbers in order. All right, so now if I go through and count numbers that are between 40 and 50, well, let's see, 2 of them are, so my frequency here is 2. Numbers between 51 and 61, 64 is not, so just 1. Numbers between 62 and 72, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we do count 72. All right, and numbers between 73 and 83, 1, oh no, not 72, 1, 2, 3, 4. Numbers between 84 and 94, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then finally, numbers between 95 and 105 is just the 99. So there's 1. Now, when we add these up, they should be the 20 scores that we had. So let's see, 3, 8, 12. Yes, that does add up to 20. Now, notice, unlike the other frequency table we did, from this table, we can't get back the original data because we do have classes instead of just listing the data over here on the left like we did with our first example.